Welcome to Nebraska Preps Postgame with Damon Benning and Jacob Padilla.
Love that open. I get the look from JP. It's like when
Oh, that's new.
he says, and Jacob Padilla. Yeah, the big voice guy letting us know it is time for another week of NEB Preps with my main man, Jacob Padilla. I'm just telling you guys, if you can't appreciate him, you don't have a pulse. My man, JP, has been through it, and now I am officially with the walking wounded. And as old as he is, experiencing his first bone break, man, good on you for dodging bullets this long. I mean, and you're significantly younger than me, but still, I think before I had my broken tailbone and I broke my foot, two things, and I wasn't even to the 8th grade yet.
I never played football, so that probably helped.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gotten pretty lucky. 30 years between before bone break, but yeah, broken hand.
30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least you can still type, man, because Lord knows as much writing as you do.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle. I had to adjust to it a little bit, but we're figuring it out.
Yeah, nice, man. A lot to recap, and we will go rapid fire. You want to start in A or B?
Let's knock out A real quick.
All right, let's knock out A. Let's start with number 1 ranked Bellevue West, who I watched yesterday in Kansas City, but we've got to go back a little and make sure we recap the impressive start for the T-Birds.
Yeah, they're
5-0.
6-0 now.
Yeah, that's right. Last night.
All my notes are for the weekend, and then we had to push it back, so I got to kind of adjust on the fly here. But yeah, that was and probably their best win to this point. I mean, it's either this or Papio South before heading into Tuesday. I have no idea what to make of their Tuesday game, but 68-45 win at Lincoln Northeast. And the thing was 38-34 after 3. So anybody's game going in the 4th. And then they just dominated 30-11 in the 4th quarter. Held Lincoln Northeast at 10 for 28 inside the 3-point arc. So 36% shooting on twos. And forced 19 turnovers. So defensively, that's how they get it done. Because you look at it, they've been pretty balanced offensively. Like Josiah Dotzler, he's been good. He hasn't been best player in the state. He hasn't needed to be. But Jane Jackson's had a couple big games and then just been solid for the most part. Like they're just kind of getting it done defensively for the most part.
So this is the thing that I appreciate about Josiah Dotzler, because and I watched it yesterday. And it's not even in his scoring production. You know what? I got it figured out. He can control tempo.
Yeah.
And he does it handling the basketball. And he's to the point now, he's bored. He's dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Because now what he does is he gets guys really good looks because he's darn near impossible for a lot of these teams to stay in front of. He's become this facilitator, and I'm telling you, it's impressive because he doesn't have to do it putting the biscuit in the basket. He's playing at a really high level right now, in my opinion, for what it's going to take for him to succeed at the collegiate level as kind of a true point guard. Man, I'm impressed with him transitioning his game from a scoring guard mentality to what do we need to give my team a chance to cut down the nets.
Yeah. And so he had 14. Jane Jackson had 14. Robbie Garcia had 10 and 8. Jackson Stuvey had 9. Jacob Rope had 8 and 7. So that 18 and 15 from your two bigs there. That kind of production will win you a lot of games, especially with Jacob just kind of working his way back in. And then moving ahead to Tuesday, they went down to Kansas City, that event. Same thing. Westside is in. We'll talk about them shortly. And took care of business against a Park Hill team, 77-53. And you're talking about Josiah Dotzler, 18 points and 8 of 13 shooting, 10 assists.
Listen,
second double-digit assist game of his career. Career high is 12.
Any spot he wanted to get to on the floor, he did.
0 turnovers as well.
I'm telling you, I watched it firsthand. I sat back and I just admired. I'm like, you know what? Because it's not just listen. He's great talent. There's this we know. It's the evolution of his game that isn't getting enough credit. He's changing the way that he can play basketball.
And I'm assuming a lot of those assists went to Jaden Jackson, who went 6 for 7 from 3 and finished with 22 points.
Yeah, playing Park Hill, and then we watched it. And you know, I was talking about it with Caleb and a couple of the guys as we were watching ahead of time because we got down there at early for the girls' game for Westside. So we were in the arena. That's the bad scouting report because they just wouldn't stay attached.
Yeah, that's not good.
And you have to make you have to make Jaden put it on the deck. And this is not a closeout. I saw that. And so we were just talking with other coaches and players, just their ability to want to be disciplined. And, you know, Stuvie got it going. I told him, I said, man, it must be the hair. He's growing his hair out. He looks great. Eldon Turner looked fantastic in transition. They have so much depth. Like, they can come at you in a lot of different ways. And when Dotzler is getting to any spot on the floor with dribble, drive, kicks, they were getting leaky runouts. They were pulling up from 3 on the break. Yeah. Man, they looked every bit the part of the best team in the state of Nebraska.
Other noteworthy thing from that Tuesday game, Isaiah McMorris is back. Yeah. 4 points, playing a little bit. I know.
Yeah, limited, but he got working his way back.
Yeah, I know he wasn't sure if he was going to play early on, ended up regretting not doing it and going back out and putting in work to try to get back with the team. And Doug Woodard gave him a chance to get out there and play on Tuesday. So it's just something else to monitor.
It's a crowded backcourt. Yeah. It's a really crowded backcourt.
Yep. So, like you said, depth, that just adds more to that. We'll see how that develops. Rotation, again, still working a rope back in. So they're not even in Dotzler. We were talking about how good he's been. He hasn't even been shooting the 3-ball well. We know second half, I think last year he kind of got going on that too, or over the summer he got going too. So that's something that, like, if that comes around even more, like on top of everything they're doing, good luck. So yeah, that's WS in at 6-0.
That's a line from Taken, isn't it, Shane? What does he say? Good luck.
He says a lot of stuff in Taken.
Yeah, like they just, I'm telling you, like, you could just tell, like, you know, when you're playing an opponent that's scrambling like that, not really knowing personnel, they just dissected them. It was like the excellence of execution. And you have to, I'm going to say this because we've talked about this for 2 years. You have to pick your poison with Bellevue West. You cannot stop everything, so you better decide what you want to do. If you want to let Josiah get his points and stay attached to shooters, you can play it that way. If you want to stop dribble, drive, penetration, and have other people beat you, you do it that way. But you cannot be in no man's land trying to do a little bit of both.
Indeed. And moving on, number 2, Gretna, 6-0 as well. Picked up a 64-42 win over Papio South. Really strong defensive performance in that one, held them 33% shooting. Outscored them 32-13 in the second and third quarters. 18 from Landon Pekorski, 12 from Alec Wilkins, and 11 from Alex Wilcoxon. And then 53-52. They really had to earn that against Lincoln Southeast last Saturday. And it was back and forth. It's 16-8 Gretna after one. Southeast won the second 16-4. It was 19-14 in the Gretna in the third quarter, and then they played them even in the fourth to hold on to the lead. But Southeast missed a couple of free throws late that could have given them the lead. So that they just narrowly escaped that one. But again, Pekorski 18, Wilcoxon 18, hit a big 3 late to give him the lead, and then Wilkins 15.
Wilcox, he's icy. Like, you could tell he's played in a lot of big time games, and he kind of has that temperament too, where it's just kind of like steady Eddie. But that 3, and they did it without great contributions from Roselle, which, if they're not going to get that and they can still function,
that's like, if they get those 3 going plus Roselle, you got that balance.
It's like,
that's going to make them a state title contender if you can get all 4 of those guys going at once.
Absolutely, because that's not one of those teams that you want scoring points. You think if you keep them in the high 40s, low 50s.
Southeast had a shot there. Again, you make a couple of shots down the stretch, they get that win. So
Southeast is one of those rare teams that's still in the top 10 with 3 losses, but their schedule has been a little unforgiving.
Very much so. Millard North 6-0, 61-47 against Millard West. That's one they were up 35-17 at half.
Yeah, seen that one up close. I hadn't left yet after watching the girls' game. Boy, they got a lot of versatility too.
Yeah. Millard West tried to battle back into that one. Zach Ranjanet, my OSA kid, came back
Well,
off a wrist injury.
He gets buckets. He hurt that one
Tried to lead
against
him back,
Westside.
Yeah. Scored 18, tried to lead the comeback, but wasn't enough. Made it a little bit more competitive, though. That's Neil Mosser off to a great start to the season. 4-9 from 3, 18 points. Derek Rollins, 13 points, 9 boards. Camden Money, 10 points and 6 boards. And then Elijah Geth, 8 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds. Still struggling to shoot the ball, but stuff in the stat sheet otherwise.
Again, much with Eli, a lot like Dotzler, in a similar vein, learning to do other things when he's not scoring the basketball, as he's kind of evolving into their primary ball handler.
And then followed that up, 57-41 against Lincoln North Star, 31-18 at half. And they just kind of kept it. Yep. Elijah Gate, 10 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists. Again, only 4-13 shooting from 3, although he hit 2 threes. So that's a good sign. He's starting to knock a few of those down after a really slow start to the season. Man, if he can get the scoring efficiency up to go with stuff in the stat sheet, that's going to make them a different team.
So it's interesting because you've seen this before with a lot of players you cheer for at the NBA level. Sometimes I think it's difficult to still be the maestro when you're hunting shots. So growing into that is not always easy to do. Sometimes, especially at this age, sometimes you're either a bucket getter or you're a facilitator. So flirting in between both while your game doesn't suffer, I think is something you have to adjust to.
And Neil Monster, 11 on free throws. Again, second game this season where he's hit 11 free throws, 11 to 13 from the line. And then Cam Money, back-to-back double-digit scoring performances for the junior, 10 points.
Nice little acquisition there.
Yeah. And then Lincoln Southwest at number 4, sitting there at 4-1 with that only loss to Millward North. Only played one game last week. It was against Millward West again. The tough schedule for them, but again, kept it competitive. 72-65 win for Lincoln Southwest. It was 56-38 through 3 quarters, and then Millward West outscored 27-16 in the fourth quarter to make it somewhat interesting. And Chuck Love, 21 points, led him in scoring again. Off to a great start to the season, averaging over 18 points a game. Ryan Smith, 10-10 from the free throw line.
That's big, isn't it?
Yeah. Finished with 15. Bon Boom, 12 points. And Braden Frager, 11 points. So you get all 4 of those guys going. That doesn't include Lucas Helms, who's capable of a double-digit scoring game at any point. They've got options.
How do you classify Frager? He a lot of people talk about him like at the coolers and stuff, like with his game and what he's capable of doing, but he's kind of been maybe inconsistent is too strong of a word, but
he's really physically gifted. I think he's still learning how to play the game, how to fit in with this team, like where his shots are going. A lot of time it just seems like he's kind of counting on overpowering you, on using his athleticism to just go, as opposed to kind of reading a situation and figuring out how to create the best advantage. But he's talented enough to make that work for in a lot of games. So
I like the term physically gifted. I use that sometimes.
Just a sophomore.
I like that.
So that's both Love and Frager, sophomores there, taking a bigger role for them this season. Moving on to Westside, who also went down to Kansas City.
Starting to get it going.
54-42 win over an Owasso team from Oklahoma, I believe.
Yeah. Little suburb just outside of Tulsa.
Yep. So that was the good trip down there for Nebraska teams.
Absolutely.
And so start off the week though, 66-51 at Millward South. That was a 1-point game going into the fourth quarter. And then
took a few.
Yeah.
So that's an underappreciated coaching adjustment in my opinion that Omaha Westside made. Rucker had the huge third quarter against Westside to get them back in it, and Coach Simons made the decision. He let Caleb guard Rucker, and defensively, I think that really changed the way that Millard South wanted to play. But they just didn't have an answer for Boudreaux, who. Goodness.
So, yeah.
Really starting to put it on the deck. We know Boudreaux's a great shooter, but I'm telling you, he was putting it on the deck and getting downhill against Westside. His repertoire was impressive.
Yeah, so I watched that one on video, watched it back. The big good news was that your son Caleb was back, made a handful of really important plays just defensively. Like, was it steal or rebound, whatever, diving on a ball and then
he threw it from his butt.
Like those are the kind of plays that
I looked at Alvin, and Alvin goes, most people just don't make those plays. The steal and then the throw ahead to Tate from the seated position.
But it was, again, 1-point game going in the fourth, and then outscored on 26. Unfortunately, Caleb came back and Will Cooper suffered a knee injury.
Yeah.
Caleb just went down, just bad luck, fell back into the knee and just kind of buckled underneath him.
And that's his guy too.
And he tried to come back in. And you could tell it was not right. Checked back out, went back and checked him out. He's done. We hoping for a speedy recovery there. Sounds like he's going to be out for a bit. So
it would be interesting to see Millard South with one more option.
It would be nice to have Austin Trotter healthy to just get some athleticism on the wing.
And he was really like he looks like a good teammate. I don't know him. I just watch him because I know he's capable. I mean, he was engaged. Maybe you look for a guy like Brock Murtaugh who was 10 feet away. Yeah, 10 feet away in the upper deck with his great frame, but they're like another option away.
Well, and that's the problem. Their depth has just been hurt by the injuries. I think Brock was planning to play basketball until the football injuries just caught up to him by the end of the season. Obviously, Austin Trotter went out for football and was making a big difference. Then foot or I think might have been foot or something. Yeah. So he's working his way back. Like he's still on the roster. He'll play this season. I don't know when. And then now obviously you get Ben Boudreau going 20 in that game. And then you lose Will Cooper in the third quarter, and they just kind of didn't have enough options in the fourth. And that's the problem right now. Like with the injuries, like if you put this team fully healthy with everybody that's planning to play, you've got a solid squad, but you lose 2-3 of those guys that could have been in your top 6 or 7. Now suddenly you're scrambling to try to fill out a rotation. So it's tough for Millard South. They'll continue to battle though. Rutgers a really good player.
Well, he is much improved. His post game,
he's the best 6'3" post player in the state.
Because he's not a big, but
he's so good on the offensive glass. You just can't keep him off.
How about that third quarter?
Yeah,
I was like, wow, the drop step, the pivot foot. Like, I like his footwork, and I know he's a football guy, and he's going to be fantastic. Like, he may be a steal.
Yeah,
he may be a steal for North Dakota.
Yeah. So in that game, just kind of not a great offensive game. He got going a little bit. Tate Oddbody 15, Kevin Stubblefield 14.
It's a guy. Tate has got to let the offense come to him. When he does, he's a different player because he's capable of being a very efficient scorer as long as he doesn't get impatient.
Yeah. CJ Mitchell 14, and then Kevin Brown. We'll talk about him as we move along here. But 12 points and 11 rebounds. First varsity double-double. First double-digit scoring game as a varsity player for Westside. Obviously, player I coach, so a little bias there, but good to see him coming on strong. And then they followed up 62-52 win at Lincoln Pius at 10th, which similar story. It was only a 2-point game heading into the fourth, and then Westside just controlled the final period, 21-13. Kevin Brown, 20 points, following up a first double-double. It's his first 20-point outing.
Hey, going at a monster too in Anderson.
7 of 10 from the field, hit a few threes, which is big, playing against a 6'9" big guy like Anderson inside, be able to stretch the floor there. Tate Oddbody 19, CJ Mitchell 10 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. And then that win down Tuesday. Didn't need a big fourth quarter this time, guys.
They went on a little run. So the difference is they stopped turning the ball over as much, number one, and their offense is moving the ball much better. When it moves, Coach Simons is very good in half-court sets, even though I joke in my head there sometimes I'd like to just see them go as opposed to so many set plays. But, I mean, that is what it is because the designs are so good. And he can get guys good open shots. If they take care of the basketball and stop dribble drive penetration, it's a different team.
Giving up 42 points, good way to win a game. The 54-42 was the final down there in Kansas City. Tate Oddbody, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. Kevin Brown, 15 points, 5 rebounds. CJ Mitchell, 10 points, 2 assists, and Kevin Stubblefield, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists.
Yeah.
So sitting there at 6-1 and starting to look like the team we thought they could be. You got Kevin Brown coming on, 3 straight double-digit scoring outings. You got Caleb Benning back in the lineup. So now is kind of the time for Westside to hit their stride and kind of start looking like what we thought they could be.
Yeah, the preseason number 2 team for most.
Lincoln East sitting there at 6.
So well coached.
5-1. They suffered their first loss down at Lincoln High. I was at that game. Just a brutal shooting.
Those are all your guys too. You everybody in one gym for JP.
Yeah. So that, I figured I wanted to go down and watch them play, and 54-51 win for Lincoln High. It really Vince Garrett and Lincoln High's at 7th.
I like Lincoln High kind of because they're athletic.
And size. They've kind of built to this point where they've got more good basketball players, I think, than they've had in a while. And Vince Garrett had 12 points in the first quarter, finished with 25. They were up 10 after the first quarter, and then East battled back and went back and forth in the fourth quarter. And then they came up a little bit short there. Had Justin Bullis blocked a 3 at the buzzer that could have tied it. But just 2 for 20 from 3 for a team like Lincoln East. That's
and in that kind of contested game,
6'3" and under. They don't really have any size in their starting lineup. Lincoln High, one of the biggest teams in Class A. They've got 6'8" coming off the bench. They got 6'6" forward. So they got a lot of size that you weren't going to be able to win a paint points battle in that one, and they just couldn't shoot well enough to win that thing. But they gave themselves a shot to stick in it and win at the end. And then East followed that up with a 62-60 win at Prep on Saturday. We talked about Christmas and the Cage game. Man, that was I watched that one on YouTube as well. Phenomenal game, back and forth.
Literally.
Yeah, you talk about my guys, Carter Templemeyer, 17 points, some really good finishes at the rim. Connor Hamilton, 17 points, 5 of 6 from 3, 4 in the second half. That really was the difference.
Lightning in a bottle, or situational, or something that you think can be an X factor for them.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be hitting 5 threes.
Not 5 of 6, but
yeah, he stepped up when Templemeyer was out with the ankle injury. He scored had a couple digit scoring games there. So like they've got options there with those two, and then Carter Mick had 17 as well. So all three, Carter and Connor, 17 points apiece. That's a recipe for them to be winning games.
Is now the time, or maybe later, that I get to fawn over being a Carter Mick fan. I feel like I do it like, once a month. I'll let it go. But you know me, huge competitor, multi-sport athlete. He brings it every single night.
Yeah, East outscored Prep 14-4 in the third quarter, and then just held on in the fourth quarter. And that 9-22 for me. So that's kind of, you look at their box scores. They're one game really good shooting, next game cold. One game really good shooting. Like they could get a little bit more consistency, but if they're hitting their threes, they can compete with almost anybody they're going to face, I think.
They can switch a lot of ball screens too. Did you see how they were playing defensively against Prep?
Again, 5 interchangeable guys, all 6'1" to 6'3", undersized inside, but that gives you versatility too if you can take advantage of it.
Prep's got to get some consistency in the backcourt.
100%. Dylan Clausen has been their best player this season consistently. Prep fell out of the ranks. Not going to talk about them, but they in that game, Trinell Parker coming off the bench gave him some really nice minutes as a sophomore. He's a guy to keep an eye out for.
Yeah,
he hasn't played a ton of varsity.
Remember, we asked in the preseason, will Coach Lukey have to go younger than he wants to in the backcourt?
So yeah, they're still figuring some things out. They need somebody to emerge as kind of more consistent perimeter option to go with Clausen, but there's still a lot of good basketball players there. Lincoln High, they followed the win at East up at the 73-48 win against Omaha Westview. It's a really bad matchup for Westview. Justin Bullis had 16 and Bryson Faines at 16, the 2 6'8" guys. Westview does not have size, and they're all underclassmen, so tough matchup. But 6-2 start or 5-1 start for Lincoln High, best start since they went 16-2 in 2018-19, finished 14-10. They went 16-2 in 17-18 and finished 13-12. They have a chance to have their best season since going 19-5 back in 2014-15 when they had Keyshawn Wilson and Jason Towery kind of leading that team. So
wow, how about the Rolodex though?
That's back about the 2013 season, the first year I started covering. So that's about as far back as I go.
Nobody's dropping that on a show like this with Towery. They're just not.
Shout
Like
out,
Like that's kind of
Jamie Davis is on that team. He's coaching now.
Okay.
Keyshawn Wilson's reffing back in the
yes,
league
yeah,
after a good
he
college
is.
career.
Yeah,
So
he's
shout out to those
he's
guys.
an official now.
We'll speed through these and move on to Lincoln Southeast, 3-3 you mentioned. 63-23 win against Grand Island. Good defensive effort there before the close loss to Gretna on Saturday. BJ Bradford did not play in that Gretna game.
Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah. Mari Shoemaker kind of picked up the slack, hit 5 threes, I believe it was, or 6 threes. So went 5 of 6 from 3 to kind of help them. And Wade Voss, 17 points. They need to play through him. Slow start to the season. He's got to be their best player.
100% agree. They struggled in the first half against Westside in a game that they ended up winning because he didn't have enough touches.
Yeah.
Like play through Voss.
Yeah. So 9 Papio South. That game against Gretna was our only game last week. Lincoln North Stars sitting there at 10. 90-55 win against Burke, and then that
Took
loss
it on the chin of
Miller North.
Miller North.
Northeast Stephen Votes at 4-2, Kearney 6-1, Central 6-1, and Prep 3-3.
I wish I knew more about Central. We'll see as the schedule kind of ramps up here at the back end of the holiday tournaments.
Yeah, and so if you did not hear, all kinds of adjustments because of the weather.
Right.
Originally, they were going to play the first round tonight as we record this on Wednesday. With the weather coming on, they decided can't do that. So they're pushing all after break. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday. So 4 days, 4 games in 5 days for these teams.
Tough sledding. The top seeds kind of lose their advantage, and you're coming off the moratorium. So we'll see what the early play looks like for some of these games.
Yes.
I mean, because you have to take the mandatory break.
Yes. So it's going to be difficult. Not what you want, but that's you got to make it happen. W East, Omaha Burke, Papillion La Vista, and Omaha Westview won the play-in games on Tuesday. So those are the teams advancing. We'll break down the whole field. You can find the updated brackets, everything at nebpreps.com
next week.
Buddy Mike Sauter will have all that. So that's what's next up in Class A.
We can call him a colleague now.
Yeah, very much so. Welcome to Mike, to the Hurrdat family. The most significant thing. Well, so 2 things, a few things actually. Scott, took care of business. 200th win for Coach Kyle Jurgens there, up at against South Sioux City.
Class act.
Platteview 5-0. They went 2-0, but won both games 53-51. I was at that game against Beatrice. Connor Milliken went off for 29 points and surpassed 2,000 points.
What a slogfest. I was going back and forth talking with Mosman after that game, Trey's dad, and just packing the paint. Not a ton of ops from behind the arc. If Platteview can play a couple of different ways, that will be an interesting team going forward, because it's not always going to be chucking it up from 3 and getting free-flowing shots. Beatrice made that a grinder.
Milliken picked up his 3rd foul in the second quarter.
It didn't play in the 3rd quarter.
Really? 3rd quarter, he came back, had to sit most of the 2nd quarter, and that allowed Beatrice to get back in the game. It was close the entire 4th, and then Platteview made a few plays in the 4th quarter. Milliken made some plays to pull that one out, and then they survived 53-51 against Blair. They were up 8 after the 3rd quarter, and then Blair made a comeback in the 4th, fall just a little bit short. Milliken only had 14 in that one. Trey Mosman 13, and Ezra Stewart 12 and 5, and then they won 55-47 at Gross on Saturday in their little holiday tournament deal. Milliken 26 and 13, so kind of back to doing what he does.
You got to keep him off the foul line.
Very much so. Number 3, Scottsbluff, start off 6-1, suffered a big loss against Ogallala. That thing did not quite see. I thought that was going to be a great game.
Well, we kind of previewed it as like one to kind of watch, and it's like, whoa, that one got out of hand in a hurry.
Yeah. 13 threes, I believe that
spot on.
So that's going to be tough to keep up with. But great. Jaron Gager's off to a great start. Ryder Smith, his younger brother, is playing as a freshman, having a really good season. So It was 76-45 final. So that's the first in-state loss to for Scottsbluff. Crete,
We talked
7-0 now.
Talked about them last week. A team they have my attention. Good to see them having some sports success.
Beat Fairbury and Palmyra last week, and then handled Waverly on Tuesday. It's a really good win for them.
That's the one. We looked at that one, right? We're like, okay, let's see.
Yep. So I wouldn't be, I'm assuming they'll be at number 3 in the next poll, jumping ahead of Scottsbluff.
Yeah.
And Roncalli also suffered their first loss of the season. Pulled out a close one against Omaha Westview, 55-49, and then lost to Hardington Cedar Catholic, 56-52 in overtime. So that's good win for Cedar Catholic. First loss of the season for Roncalli. Bennington at number 6. They beat Bellevue East last week. Got off to a great start, 24-10 in the first quarter, and then just kind of cruised from there. 17 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists from Trey Bird.
Isn't it funny how we said we thought that those guys would at some point start to get it going coming fresh off of football?
Yeah.
And here comes Trey Bird, who's used to winning.
So it's 0-2 start season, won 3 games since. York's having a really good season. They beat Elkhorn handily, 74-59 last Tuesday. Pulled away in the fourth quarter. Austin Finney had 19 points and 17 rebounds in that game.
Where do you think Elkhorn's going to get consistency in scoring?
That's the question. They've been up and down so far this season. Got off to a good start, and then they hit a bit of slide. Ralston knocked them off in a really good game. My brother's on the coaching staff at Ralston right now, so gave me a hard time for not going to that game.
Come on, Jordan.
Then York beat Aurora, or lost to Aurora 55-57. Aurora's kind of picked it up the last couple of games here. I think they got a good win on Tuesday as well. Norris, they went 2-0 last week, beat Mount Michael and Seward.
Gave Mount Michael their first loss.
And then they lost to Aurora on Tuesday. So everybody beating everybody. Mount Michael is at 9. That was their only game last week. And then Gross coming in at number 10. They beat Boys Town and then lost to Platteview in their final. And then who's it? They lost last night, I believe.
Yeah.
Forgot who it was too.
Yeah, they did.
And then I guess wrap up the two mentions in C. Last night, the battle of 1 and 2. Ashland Greenwood went to Wahoo and pulled out a close one there in that gym.
Tough place to play, and I think Ashland Greenwood always gets tired of hearing about Wahoo. And we thought this, is Wahoo, and who's next? Can Ashland Greenwood score enough over the long haul? It's a much different team.
Very much so. There's kind of figuring out their new rules, but they got the pieces and showed like, hey, they're very much going to be in contention to repeat there.
Stops.
And then Freeman went to Auburn or beat Auburn in a 30-29 game. I watched that one on TV on Friday. Man, that was a brutal basketball game. Not super well played offensively, but that's a good win for Freeman, who is the top team in Class C too.
More early losses for Auburn than they've had in 2 years.
One shout out we need to give before we get out of here on the girls' side. Heck of a game last week between Millard South and Omaha Central. Patriots pulled out 77-71 win, got 20 apiece from Maya Babbitt, Chloe Lemon, and Cora Olson. But Ania Jones, 43 points on 15-25 shooting, 5 of 8 from 3, 8 of 9 from the free throw line. School record. Dish out 5 assists too while scoring 43 points.
If she's making shots from behind the arc, can't guard her.
No, she's so physical.
And she gets downhill, you can't guard her.
Yeah, we definitely need to give a shout out there. So that's
Waverly will be happy with us.
Fantastic.
As will she. He wants more coverage for girls basketball. We're going to take care of you. Heck of a week, heck of a rundown. My man JP, he made it in. The weather's trash outside. Be safe. Enjoy the holidays. We'll be back next week with Nebraska Preps postgame.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.